Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald explores a whole new corner of the wizarding world, whisking us away to Paris in the year 1927. And if you want all the essential background, sure, you could go read every article on Pottermore, but that site said I was a Slytherin when I'm clearly a Ravenclaw, so obviously they don't know everything. Plus, there are plenty of interesting connections to be found right in the original Harry Potter films. So why not join us for a very special, very Albus Dumbledore heavy edition of Cram. At the opening of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or the Philosopher's Stone if you are British or pedantic, it's the year 1981 and Albus Dumbledore is serving as headmaster of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. We first see Dumbledore dropping off an orphaned infant named Harry Potter, fresh off an encounter with an evil wizard named Lord Voldemort. The encounter killed Harry's parents, left him with a wicked scar, and meant that Voldemort has now disappeared and is presumed dead. Harry must now live with his closest living relatives, the Dursleys, who are muggles or non-magical folk. But Albus Dumbledore isn't just any Hogwarts headmaster. He's widely regarded as the greatest headmaster in Hogwarts history.
He will be under the finest headmaster that Hogwarts has ever seen, Albus Dumbledore.
See, Hagrid regards him that way, and he's extremely wide. The first movie takes place in 1991 and covers Harry's first year at Hogwarts. And yes, a lot of stuff happens in this movie that you either don't need to know or already know everything about. But here is a rough sketch. Harry Potter, hero. Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger, Harry's best friends. Draco Malfoy, bully. Professor Snape, sinister. Neville Longbottom, super weird and awkward, for now. And Quidditch, confusing. But aside from all that, here are some big significant things that we learn about Dumbledore. First off, he's terrible at applauding.
Gryffindor!
In fairness, he does figure it out later.
Gryffindor!
Much better. But more importantly, Dumbledore starts the movie in possession of the famous Sorcerer/Philosopher's Stone, which he's been keeping in a vault at the Goblin Bank Gringotts. He has Hagrid move it to Hogwarts for safekeeping. The stone was created by an alchemist named Nicholas Flamel, an old friend of Dumbledore's. Very old.
The only stone currently in existence belongs to Mr. Nicholas Flamel, the noted alchemist, who last year celebrated his 665th birthday.
Flamel has been using the stone to create the elixir of life, the potion that allowed him to live for so long. But someone else is after the stone, what's left of Lord Voldemort, and he uses a Hogwarts professor named Quirrell to almost get his hands on it and bring himself back from the dead. Luckily, Harry defeats Quirrell/Voldemort, and Dumbledore and Flamel reach an agreement to destroy the stone to keep it from falling into the wrong hands.
My friend Nicholas and I have had a little chat and agreed it was best.
Anyway, this is important because Nicholas Flamel is going to be a character in the new Fantastic Beasts movie.
Nicolas Flamel.
Nicholas Flamel is a real historical figure that made it into the Harry Potter books. He was a French scholar and bookseller who lived in the 1300s. J.K. Rowling wrote him into the first Harry Potter book because she had a very vivid dream about him while she was working on it.
I dreamt that I was in his alchemist studio.
So there you go. Next time you have a realistic dream in which you meet a famous medieval bookstore owner, write them into the YA novel you're working on. It's good luck. We also see a few other important magical artifacts for the first time. First, the Cloak of Invisibility, which Dumbledore presents to young Harry. It previously belonged to Harry's father, James. Harry doesn't realize it yet, but the cloak is one of the Deathly Hallows, a group of 3 magical tools that will become hugely important about 6 movies from now. Also, Sorcerer's Stone gives us our first look at the Mirror of Erised. This mirror shows you that which you desire most in the world. In the Crimes of Grindelwald, Dumbledore will see his old friend and now nemesis Gellert Grindelwald reflected back at him, which itself reflects a romantic relationship between the two that J.K. Rowling revealed after the publication of the final Harry Potter book. How much of that will be reflected in the movie remains to be seen, but I'm super proud that we've explored so many usages of the word reflect. Our last Dumbledore tidbit from the first film: the guy is 100% willing to rig the annual House Cup competition for his friends.
I have a few last-minute points to award.
It's kind of rubbing it in to wait until the actual announcement to make this switch, right?
Gryffindor wins the House Cup.
Imagine if your school faculty played favorites like this. Oh, you thought you were Student of the Month? Psych! Turns out it's the person you hate the most at the school, who, by the way, broke way more rules than you ever did. Anyway, can we get someone to tear down this kid's picture while he stews silently in front of his peers? The second Harry Potter film reveals that not only is Professor Dumbledore okay with openly celebrating some students above others, he's really not a huge stickler for campus safety either.
I strongly recommend caution.
Several students during Harry Potter's second year at Hogwarts are petrified and very nearly killed when someone opens the Chamber of Secrets, a super dangerous hidden room that contains a deadly basilisk. But though Dumbledore keeps threatening to close down the school, nothing actually ever happens.
Our students are in great danger.
So you should probably send them all home?
All students will return to their house common rooms by 6 o'clock every evening.
No?
All students will be escorted to each lesson by a teacher.
Okay, I guess it is a school, and education is really, really important to them.
All exams have been cancelled.
Okay, I give up. But beyond his lackadaisical attitude towards teaching children, or keeping them alive really, the second movie also gives us a sense for the extent of Dumbledore's magical powers and what fantastic beasts he likes to keep hanging around. Harry, on a whim, goes to stay with his pal Ron Weasley's family, and Dumbledore somehow just knows where to forward his mail.
Oh look, it's our Hogwarts letters.
Oh!
And they've sent us Harry's as well.
Dumbledore must know you're here, Harry.
So he's just watching everyone all the time? Like Santa? Then how come so many kids are getting paralyzed?
There's been another attack.
I guess he can only see important things, like where to forward mail. But then check out this scene where Dumbledore can see Harry and Ron even though they're under an extremely powerful invisibility cloak and are unnoticed by several other wizards. Are we sure this guy's a wizard and not a god?
But Dumbledore saw right through you.
Yeah, he can see through everything. That's what I'm saying. The Chamber of Secrets ends with Harry rescuing Ron's sister Jenny from the basilisk. It turns out she opened the chamber under the influence of a magical diary, which it turns out belonged to Tom Marvolo Riddle, former Hogwarts student, future Voldemort, and anagram enthusiast. Harry destroys the diary with a basilisk fang, which isn't just the end of this story, but the beginning of something much bigger. More on that later. Also worth noting, Harry and Ron meet up with a giant spider in the woods, Aragog, and he drops this interesting tidbit.
I came to Hagrid from a distant land, in the pocket of a traveler.
Traveler, distant land, carries around fantastic beasts on his person. Could Aragog have come to America and into Hagrid's possession through the hands of Newt Scamander? I don't know. Maybe. The third film in the series, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, introduces us to a brand new Dumbledore. Michael Gambon took over the role from the late great Richard Harris, who passed away after the second film.
Welcome to another year at Hogwarts.
He's got a new look, but it's the same old Dumbledore, cavalier about keeping his young charges safe or even comfortable when they're injured.
A child's voice, however honest and true, is meaningless.
The Prisoner of Azkaban serves as a winding introduction to Sirius Black, a prisoner of Azkaban, who escapes and starts looking for Harry. But he's not trying to kill Harry, he's trying to protect him. Sirius is Harry's godfather, best friend to Harry's parents, and wrongfully accused of betraying them to Lord Voldemort. Even though Sirius has to remain in hiding, Harry now has the one thing he's always wanted, a real family member to look after him. Because the Dursleys suck. This is also the lone Potter film to be directed by Alfonso Cuarón, which is why it's filled with cool reverse zooms and impossible mirror shots.
Alright, well, sorry about that.
Let's see, what else do we learn in this entry? Nope, we covered that. Oh, I know. In Defense Against the Dark Arts class, the kids learn how to face off against a boggart.
Boggarts are shapeshifters. They take the shape of whatever a particular person fears the most.
In the Crimes of Grindelwald, we see Professor Dumbledore back in his Jude Law days going over the same lesson with a young Newt Scamander. That's about it for this one. After all, it's not called Albus Dumbledore in The Prisoner of Azkaban. In Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, we get some vital backstory about Dumbledore.
I never liked these curtains.
Okay, honestly, there's not a ton of stuff in this film that has long-term significance to Newt Scamander's story. It's mainly taken up with the Triwizard Tournament, the extraordinarily dangerous competition that, of course, Dumbledore encourages his young charges to enter.
Eternal glory. That is what awaits the student
who wins the Triwizard Tournament.
We do meet the French magical students at the Beauxbatons Academy, and since the next film is set in Paris, it'll likely feature a lot of Beauxbatons grads. They also arrive at Hogwarts via a flying carriage, somewhat similar to the one that was used years before by Grindelwald. His is piloted by Thestrals rather than winged horses. More on them later. Most of Goblet of Fire is about competitions and romance and sons masquerading as teachers to get back at their fathers, standard Harry Potter stuff. But the finale of the film marks the official return of Lord Voldemort, resurrected sans nose, to attempt world domination yet again. We also meet Voldemort's pet snake, Nagini. The Crimes of Grindelwald reveals that she was once a human known as a Maledictus, cursed to transform permanently into an animal.
I love magic.
Yeah, I mean, the candy seems great, but not so much the part where you can permanently turn into a snake and then get murdered by a teenager. I guess you take the good with the bad. Director David Yates took over the franchise, for good apparently, with 2007's Order of the Phoenix, a movie that opens with Harry being expelled from Hogwarts for using magic in front of his muggle cousin Dudley.
You are hereby expelled.
Well, not exactly.
Dumbledore has persuaded the minister to suspend your expulsion pending a formal hearing.
Or at all.
Cleared of all charges?
Once we're back at Hogwarts, Harry encounters his first Thestrals.
They can only be seen by people who've seen death.
These are the strange skeletal-looking horses that back in the 20s carried around Grindelwald's flying carriage. Order of the Phoenix reveals that there is a secret anti-Voldemort society known as the Order of the Phoenix. Man, these titles are on point. The members, including Sirius Black, Dumbledore, and Ron's parents, pledge to protect Harry and defeat Voldemort at all costs. Plus, Snape also gives Harry some occlumency lessons on the side to help him lock Voldemort out of his mind.
Used properly, the power of occlumency will help shield you from access or influence.
Gellert Grindelwald was also a master occlumens, which helped to make him safe from powerful mind reader, aka Legilimens Queenie Goldstein. Look out, Slenderman! Oh, never mind. It's just Voldemort, who lures Harry into a trap by exploiting his connection with him, which results in an epic battle between Voldemort's Death Eaters and the Order of the Phoenix in the Ministry of Magic. One of the aforementioned Death Eaters is the vile Bellatrix Lestrange. It turns out, in addition to being a descendant of Leta Lestrange,
Leta Lestrange? I've heard of that family.
She's also related to Harry's godfather, Sirius Black. That doesn't stop her from taking him out at the end of the movie, though. R.I.P. SB, you were too pure for this world. In the end, Dumbledore defeats Voldemort in a wizard's duel, and the public begins to recognize that their worst nightmare has returned. He's back. Let's see, I think that just about covers everything here. Oh, right, of course. You should know that
Dumbledore's got style.
Could be important later. We're all the way to Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and I just realized that this is the first one of these videos we've made where the title could be a line of dialogue from one of the movies. Can't you just hear Draco Malfoy saying, "Cram it, Potter"?
But you loved that, didn't you, Potter?
As Half-Blood Prince kicks off, Dumbledore is somehow even more convinced than usual that all of his students are going to die.
Dark forces attempt to penetrate this castle's walls. But in the end, their greatest weapon is you.
We also get some vital Hermione backstory.
My parents are dentists.
This entry also introduces the concept of Horcruxes, a very powerful kind of magic that allows a witch or wizard to break off a piece of their soul and hide it in a person, creature, or inanimate object. Tom Riddle's diary from the second movie was one of several Horcruxes containing bits of Voldemort's soul. Dumbledore brings Harry along on a dangerous trip to an isolated cave to retrieve and destroy another one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. Horcruxi? Enchanted objects. In order to get to the Horcrux, Dumbledore has to drink this horrible potion known throughout the wizarding world as Gatorade. No. It's just the drink of despair.
It has to be drunk. All of it.
The drink weakens the old wizard a bit, but not so much that he can't fill the entire cavern with fire. Those monsters he's killing are Voldemort's evil army of the undead, known as Inferi. Rumor has it that Grindelwald once dreamed of raising his own army of Inferi. Back at Hogwarts, Draco confronts Dumbledore while Harry hides just below. It seems Draco has been assigned by Voldemort to take Dumbledore out for good.
I was chosen!
He starts well, knocking the Elder Wand out of Dumbledore's hand, which according to wand lore makes the Elder Wand loyal to Draco, which will become very important later. But eventually the kid loses his nerve.
Don't you understand? I have to do this.
And Professor Snape arrives at the astronomy tower to finish the job. I knew that guy was up to no good.
Avada Kedavra.
Wow, R.I.P. Dumbledore. As if that weren't painful enough, Harry, Hermione, and Ron discover that the Horcrux they found in the cave wasn't even a real Horcrux.
I have stolen the real Horcrux and intend to destroy it as soon as I can.
This one is such a bummer. God, remember in this series it was all about exotic candy and making new animal friends? Those were the days. Dumbledore may be gone, but the final 2 Potter films, Deathly Hallows Parts 1 and 2, fill in a ton of backstory that will become essential to understanding some of these Crimes of Grindelwald to come. But first, Nagini eats former Hogwarts teacher Charity Burbage.
Dinner.
I guess we won't hold that against her? Okay, on to Dumbledore. Disreputable journalist Rita Skeeter has written a tell-all about him that reveals some dark family secrets.
The family moved there after his father killed those 3 muggles. It was quite the scandal.
Many of them obtained from an old friend of the family, Bathilda Bagshot.
My God, boy, she's only the most celebrated magical historian of the last century.
Hermione and Harry, who along with Ron have left Hogwarts to pursue Horcruxes full-time, head to Godric's Hollow, the old hometown of the Dumbledore family. They think they're visiting with Bathilda Bagshot, but it's actually a trap set by Voldemort, and Nagini is waiting for them. Ugh, creepy. Nonetheless, the trip isn't wasted. Harry finds a photo of none other than Gellert Grindelwald. You know, the guy from those crimes. Rita Skeeter's book has even more clues, as do some visions Harry has due to his strange connection with Voldemort. For example, he sees Grindelwald stealing an extremely powerful wand known as the Elder Wand from a wand maker named Gregorovitch. The wand is one of 3 magical objects known as the Deathly Hallows, and the bearer of all 3 of them will become a Master of Death. Now, the other 2 Hallows are Harry's invisibility cloak and a thing we've never seen before called the Resurrection Stone. What's with these extended universes and their obsession with stones? So of course Voldemort wants all the Deathly Hallows because he hates dying, and in another vision, Harry sees the Dark Lord visiting an old Grindelwald in prison in search of the Elder Wand.
The Elder Wand lies with Dumbledore.
Grindelwald tells him that the wand belonged to and was buried with Dumbledore, which is where Voldemort eventually finds it. And it's on to part 2. So now Voldemort has the Elder Wand, but he's down to just a few Horcruxes, including the one that's hidden in his pet snake Nagini. So he becomes pretty focused on personal security.
Come, Nagini. I need to keep you safe.
Harry, in search of more of those Horcruxes, heads back to Hogwarts and meets up with Albus's long-lost brother.
You're Aberforth, Dumbledore's brother.
It's here we finally learn about the key tragedy in Dumbledore's past. Sort of. You really do have to look parts of it up online to get a true sense of everything.
My brother sacrificed many things, Mr. Potter, on his journey to find power, including Ariana.
They enjoy being vague, these Dumbledores.
Ah, well, Dumbledore was always very private, even as a boy.
Here are the broad strokes. Albus Dumbledore and Grindelwald started out as good friends, and according to J.K. Rowling, even more. And for a time exchanged letters where they discussed a possible magical takeover of the Muggle world. The nerve! Anyway, back in 1899, Aberforth and Grindelwald got into a huge fight. Albus intervened, as did his sister Ariana, a powerful witch who did not have full control over her abilities. Ariana was killed in the battle, but Dumbledore remained forever uncertain about who actually unleashed the curse that killed her. This caused the end of Dumbledore and Grindelwald's relationship. They don't really spell any of this out in the movie, but, you know, if you know how to read body language, you'll probably still want to look it up online. This is also where the 2 franchises begin to weave together. In Potter lore, Dumbledore gained control of the Elder Wand in the first place in a legendary duel with Grindelwald, which will probably happen in Fantastic Beasts 4 or 5. Meanwhile, Voldemort and Nagini kill Snape, who on his deathbed, or death floor really, reveals that Harry will have to die in order for Voldemort to die.
A part of Voldemort lives inside him.
And apparently Dumbledore knew this the whole time.
You've kept him alive so that he can die at the proper moment.
Well, at least he's consistent. consistently not worried about dead students.
The boy must die?
Yes.
Also, Snape killed Dumbledore as part of a prearranged scheme to convince Voldemort to fully trust him.
You must be the one to kill me, Severus.
I knew he was up to good all along. As it turns out, in the process of destroying a separate Horcrux stored in an old ring owned by an ancestor of Voldemort's named Marvolo Gaunt, Dumbledore became infected with a deadly curse. It was gonna kill him anyway, and Dumbledore knew the value of having Snape in close with the Dark Lord. Snape was good the whole time. He was just pretending to be bad in order to protect Harry, the son of the woman he loved, Lily Potter, a love doomed to be timeless yet unrequited. And Snape dies a hero, fulfilling a promise he made to show his devotion to his one true love. Always. Is it dusty in here? Anyway, after death, Dumbledore continues to be kind of questionable, honestly.
Help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who deserve it.
Yeah, that's Dumbledore appearing to Harry in an afterlife vision and yet still speaking in riddles. You're both literally dead, man. Just come out with it. Oh, and don't worry about the whole Harry being dead part. He wasn't really dead, it just killed the part of Voldemort that was inside of him. He came back. Back on planet Earth, Neville Longbottom, who grew up to be a real cutie pie, kills Nagini the snake with the sword of Gryffindor.
Kill the snake and then it's just him.
And because she was the final remaining Horcrux, Voldemort is now mortal. Harry and Voldemort engage in one final duel, which should be no contest because Voldemort has the super powerful Elder Wand, right? Well, remember back when Draco disarmed Dumbledore before Snape killed him? That made Draco the Elder Wand's master, until Harry later disarmed Draco at Malfoy Manor, which made Harry the person that the Elder Wand respected, meaning Dumbledore's killing curse actually rebounds off Harry and ends the Dark Lord's reign once and for all. So I guess he's in the Soul Stone now, or something with time travel. Whatever, I'm sure Captain Marvel will explain it. Moving on, Harry snaps the Elder Wand in two and throws it off a bridge. And the series ends with a jump forward in time where we learn that Harry's kid is named
Albus Severus Potter.
Oh, that's sweet, because they're both dead. Which brings us to the most recent movie, but chronologically the earliest, because why set anything in present day? It's awful. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them whisks us back to New York City in the year 1926. Mysterious magical attacks are happening all over the city. So this is taking place about 25 years after Grindelwald's falling out with Dumbledore. He's recently been involved in a string of attacks across Europe that have the entire magical world freaked out.
The International Confederation is threatening to send a delegation. They think this is related to Grindelwald's attacks in Europe.
Grindelwald has become a radical advocate for the dissolution of the international agreement to keep magic a secret.
This could mean exposure. It could mean war.
He wants wizards and witches to reveal themselves to the world and take control of the Muggles. Or, as they're called here in the States, no-mages, because Americans are not super creative. So as all of this is taking place, Hogwarts grad and magizoologist Newt Scamander arrives in New York with a suitcase full of the fantastic beasts that the title mentioned.
Welcome to New York.
Thank you.
Having them is banned in America, but he brought them anyway because he's not great with authority.
I've just completed a year in the field, so I'm writing a book about magical creatures.
But almost as soon as he arrives in town, Newt's creatures begin to escape, and he accidentally switches briefcases with a regular nomad schmo named Jacob Kowalski. They're apprehended by a MACUSA agent named Tina Goldstein. That's the Magical Congress of the United States of America. MACUSA. Wow, J.K. Rowling thinks we're really bad at condensing. For complicated reasons, rather than arrest them, Tina takes them home to meet her sister, Queenie. Queenie is a powerful legilimens who can't help but read everyone's mind all the time. They mutually agree to find it cute instead of extremely unnerving.
He didn't get the money he wanted for his bakery. You bake, honey?
So Newt shows Jacob around his enchanted briefcase menagerie of wonder.
Rescue, nurture, and protect them. I'm gently trying to educate my fellow wizards about them.
And they start the process of recapturing all those fantastic beasts that got free. Meanwhile, MACUSA Chief Percival Graves is investigating the source of the destructive attacks. Graves blames the attacks on Newt's escaped creatures and has him arrested along with Tina and Jacob.
Impound that case, Graves.
Wait. And hey, check this out during Newt's interrogation.
One of your teachers argued strongly against your expulsion. Now, What makes Albus Dumbledore so fond of you?
Newt's close relationship with Dumbledore, who at this point is Hogwarts' Defense Against the Dark Arts professor, will become crucial in Part 2. Newt's older brother also gets a shout-out.
Tisius Scamander? The war hero?
No, this is his little brother.
Yeah, he's showing up in the next movie as well. Eventually, everyone agrees that the attack on a U.S. Senator, Shaw, and the other explosions around New York are the work of a powerful magical force called an Obscurus.
What was an Obscurus?
It's an unstable, uncontrollable dark force that busts out and attacks, and then vanishes.
These are created when young witches or wizards are forced to repress rather than control their magical powers. Graves finds an Obscurus in Newt's suitcase, but Newt insists that it's harmless and was removed from a young girl in Africa who later died.
He brought this Obscurus into the city of New York in the hope of causing mass disruption, breaking the statute of secrecy, and revealing the magical world.
Newt and Tina are sentenced to death for hiding the Obscurus, but they manage to escape with help from Queenie, Jacob, and a creature known as Swooping Evil. Newt and his new friends continue rounding up fantastic beasts, while Graves zeroes in his Obscurus search to the residents of an anti-magic cult/orphanage called the Second Salemers. Graves befriends one of the orphans named Credence, trying to get more information. Hey, you're into the Deathly Hallows? Man, I know the Deathly Hallows. It turns out Credence himself is the Obscurial. He destroys the orphanage and a pretty decent chunk of Manhattan. While Newt and Tina try to calm Credence down and reason with him,
I'm here to help you, Credence.
Newt and I will protect you.
Graves and his Makusa agents go on the attack. It appears that Credence is destroyed, but a little piece of his Obscurus escapes the subway and floats away. Graves, it turns out, had purposely unleashed the full force of the Obscurus's destructive power in order to reveal the existence of magic to the world.
He has broken one of our most sacred laws.
A law that has us scuttling like rats in the gutter. A law that demands that we conceal our true nature.
Because he's actually, wait for it, Gellert Grindelwald, using a powerful transfiguration charm.
Do you think you can hold me?
He decided to hide out incognito by becoming Colin Farrell? You know, a character actor would probably blend in way better. Was magical Ray Winstone not available? As he's being taken away, Grindelwald whispers this to Newt.
Will we die? Just a little.
Whatever you say. It seems like Grindelwald is won, but Newt unleashes a creature called a Thunderbird carrying a vial of venom, taking from that swooping evil creature to create some amnesia rain. See, it wasn't really evil after all. Everything gets fixed, and Jacob agrees to step out into Hurricane Brainwipe and forget about his new friends. Even Queenie, who is clearly his soulmate. Newt and Tina have also hit it off despite some initial awkwardness about Newt's former relationship with Leta Lestrange. They have a tough time saying goodbye when he heads back to England to continue his studies. In the last scene, Queenie goes to visit Jacob at his new bakery, and it seems like he might kind of remember, because love is stronger than magic. I think that sounds right. And that brings us up to date, except for all the stuff that J.K. Rowling tweets, or stuff that's just in the books, or on the website, or debuting exclusively on Facebook Live, or fanfic that won a contest and is now canon, or really anything that's been happening in the background while I was trying to figure out who does the voice of the gangster goblin.
Good luck getting back alive.
It's Ron Perlman. Thanks for watching.